Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is Speedplay France in Stellaris number 10. We left off building up our colony ships and basically getting ready to go colonize a new frontier. We can now go ahead and reach over into the next galactic arm adjacent to our own. We've been able to for quite some time, but we've been busy with wars. And there we go, we've discovered another fallen empire, so we're basically just blocked off from that. They're also xenophiles, so they'll probably be upset at us for, well, just enslaving all sorts of various species, and occasionally we do purge from time to time, although realistically we haven't been purging all that often. However, that is not exactly a great thing to have on our border. It is not a fortuitous event. We do go ahead and just begin spam searching throughout all of these various systems, hoping to find potentially habitable worlds. We have tons of habitable worlds within our empire right now or nearby. However, we're looking for continental worlds, worlds that will be very suited to our people and that our people will be very suited towards. And we discover alien races, an alien race, something along those lines. We haven't yet actually discovered or identified them, that's the word. We've discovered them, we have not identified them, so now it's going to really be a matter of, one, maybe launching a war of aggression before we even meet them. I'm not sure if we are actually capable of stealing worlds from a species we have not yet met, however, we may as well give it an attempt before we meet them. So, with that thought in mind, we are starting to lose energy since, we finally started moving our massive, or just main, not massive exactly, but our main fleet is being moved out, which lowers our energy, just surplus to a deficit. We also have some science ships we sent over to all of those undiscovered worlds. We're probably going to send them back. Also probably begin colonization efforts on some of the various continental worlds we've got. Now, these are all within our borders, though, and I realize that one of the biggest benefits of colonizing is to just expand the frontiers somewhat. So since we're going to be declaring war on this country we haven't discovered yet, instead of colonizing the worlds we just sent our colony ships to, or sciencing all these worlds we sent our science ships to, we're going to send our colony ships and our science ships away from where we just sent them. Our science ships will go explore continental worlds outside of our empire. Our colony ships will then colonize them. And our military will hopefully battle and destroy these undiscovered aliens, hopefully annexing them into our great empire. Now, that all said, we are just kind of moving them back and forth. It looks like they're just beelining straight towards the unidentified people's world, and it looks like they just declared the war themselves, which is interesting. We were going to do the same thing anyway, so it doesn't matter all that much. Apparently, a reservation of natives was breached into just regular slave society. And there we go. We begin bombarding their world, and hopefully we'll be able to land our armies on it pretty quickly. Now, it looks as though they're basically hydras, and unfortunately, we've gone ahead and discovered them before we were able to seize that world, which is or identified them before we were able to seize that world. Now, since we've already gone ahead and moved our military forces over, we can either get 100% war score by stealing 5 of their worlds, or we could probably go ahead and just take their most important worlds, 4 of them, for slightly less war score. We do go ahead and declare that war, we get the pop-up for discovering them, and they're going to learn our ways, essentially, is the option that we pick. You'll notice we now have an energy surplus despite having a whole lot of colony ships now. That's because I went ahead and turned off welfare, essentially. So our people are just going to have to deal with their issues on their own and or become enslaved. Oh wait, no, we haven't turned off social welfare programs yet. I'm sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself and inadvertently spoiled this. I am terribly sorry. At any rate, though, now I understand. What happened was, and sorry, that's totally unprofessional. Basically, our fleet was in undiscovered land since they were forced to retreat. Hence, we didn't have to pay upkeep for them, which we ended up discovering is something like 75 energy per turn. However, now that they are back, we do go ahead and have to send them away once more. We also have quite a significant backup fleet that we have been producing just on the side. We're going to have to group that all together and send them out as well in just a moment, since we are now at minus 115 energy. So we turn off social welfare. Now we manage to gain something like 130 additional energy, which is fantastic. It makes it so that we're not in a terrible deficit. And in the future, if we manage to get to a point where we can turn welfare back on, it will indicate that it'll basically just give us an out, so that we don't end up having the same thing happen again that happened before, where we just run entirely out of energy and have to deal with the consequences thereof. We also went ahead and made an example out of some slaves, which dropped us down by a lot of energy, and apparently even put us in the negative for a moment, turning our fleet power down considerably, which is moderately to extremely concerning. We do go ahead and switch a lot of our sectors. 1, we tax them fully, and 2, we go ahead and switch their focuses to energy, since that's definitely the most important thing. And you'll notice we have a massive reserve of minerals, which we can't even trade because everybody hates us. So we have to go capture people's energy production in order to fuel our nation. Speaking of, we are managing to get ourselves in a pretty large naval battle. Luckily, we managed to get energy before this occurred, otherwise it would be in their favor, actually. It wouldn't even be an even fight. And they have level 3 ships. We only have level 2 ships. In fact, we only have level 2 ships. All of our level 1 ships have died. At this rate, though, we have basically won that battle. We lost something like 1,000 fleet power and accidentally moved our admiral out of the combat fleet, although it doesn't seem to be that much of an issue since we've already won. They have their troop transports. Apparently they're trying to take back their capital world, and now they get to lose their army for the expense of it. So you'll notice at this point that we're definitely getting better at reliably doing well against alien races as we invade their homeworlds. So that's definitely a positive thing that has come about from our last several wars. So that's very positive, very good news for us. And it looks as though we jumped right into one of their fleets, about 1,000 strong. That's not exactly great, however, we ended up destroying their fleet, so who really cares? And at this point, it looks as though there's an enemy fleet in the system we just took over, which almost certainly means they're going to take it back. We also built a wormhole network in that system, so they'll probably try to destroy that. Although if we manage to get a fleet over to it again, we'll be able to jump them back in before that gets destroyed, but as you can see, they're probably going to take it back. So we do split our fleet into 2 groups. You'll notice we have 2 fleets of 4,000. One is going out of the system and apparently attacking their wormhole station. Not exactly what I wanted it to do, especially because that buys them time to retake that world, which they are in the process of doing right about now. Luckily, though, besides all of that, all those setbacks, we are still winning. We do manage to defeat their fleet. We just have to send half of our army back over to resecure the planet, so we go ahead and do that. And our other navy is just going to more or less chill in their capital system, really just to prevent them from taking that back, since at this point it's becoming rather obvious that we need to leave a fleet behind in strategic areas to prevent the enemy from just kind of walking right back into them, which means that we have to have essentially double the fleet power of any nation that we go to war with, or at the very least a decent enough superiority that we can destroy their fleet. You'll notice they were sending transports in, so it's a very good thing that we maintained our fleet presence. We also are retaking that world. And yeah, there we go. Now we're just going to send one of our fleets forward, go ahead and keep exploring various areas, make sure that that all stays more or less well done. And yeah, go ahead and send our construction ships over, start utilizing the resources we have gained by colonizing new sectors and other things. We are winning these space battles, which is pretty great news, and we have, I believe, one of our army units on the way. We're also building monuments to purity on one of our worlds just because they need it. Hopefully it'll keep them happy now that they don't have, well, welfare, basically. We've discovered a new civilization, apparently. They are not yet fully developed, which is really the best way to discover a civilization, because we can just roll an army on over to them. And we're already in the process of rolling armies onto things, so it works out decently well. With that all said and done, we're still just funneling minerals over to our various sectors, simply because we ran out of space for it on ours, or well, in our general direct control. And we don't really have anything we need to build left, so we may as well let our sectors build various things. We also do have energy now, which is quite great, although we don't really have a surplus. We are, in fact, in a small deficit, although we have such a reserve that it doesn't really matter. We do go ahead and force our demands, and there we go. We didn't do as much damage as I was hoping to their just presence on the galaxy. However, we took 4 of their core worlds in 3 systems, so that almost certainly hurt them somewhat. They're also quite distant from the rest of the galaxy, so hopefully no one will help them as we go and finish them off. And that's realistically going to be what we end up doing. We did colonize 3 worlds, which is a considerably higher amount than we've colonized previously, and will hopefully spread human civilization, or French civilization, really either works, to just various areas. I guess human is more accurate, since French civilization is just a very large overarching thing, much larger than humanity itself. We do go ahead and turn back on social welfare, build up a navy a little bit, just because that's really the standard course of action for us, and pretty soon we'll be able to build the 3rd tier of ships. We just may as well get these in while we wait. We also do get a fleet over here to just destroy the basically International Space Station of this race, and now we are going ahead and just landing an army on it, which looks as though it's doing decently well. It's about half robot, half French. And we go ahead and subjugated them. We bring them into enlightened slavery. And here we should have a few demographics tabs and things along those lines. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with more.